but only those to whom it is given. For there are eunuchs who have been so from birth, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by others, and there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let anyone accept this who can. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Father.
Ndiba inde wono. Anyị ji agbakọnatara ebe a maka ndị Igbo so na ihe akpara akpa eji isi eme gịnị. So eji anya ama ọka kara aka. Nwagha bụ gịnị? Akpịrị. Anyway, asị na ogologo Chukwu adịrọ n'ụka mgbede. Ya na mmejite unu aka. Anyị gbakọnatara ebe a isonye nwanne anyị nwoke Chief Nzenwa na lọl ya Lovenia Madoka were ṅụrị ya kene Chineke. Sorry, I think I better speak in English because maybe not everybody here understands Igbo, maybe. Okay, yeah, we all gathered here this evening to join our brother, Chief Nzenwa Madoka, and his wife, Lovenia Madoka, to thank God for the great thing He has done to them and celebrate their marriage. Is a wonderful and joyful moment to stay together all these years. And when you look back for the 35 years, maybe it looks like yesterday. In short, when Mr. Nzenwa was telling me about this celebration, my mind and what I planned was he should be the person to give this homily. Yes. If it is something general in the church, the priest or the bishop or the cardinal, we know the best theology to apply. When it comes to married life, I remember my mentor, Eugen Habermas. When I was discussing with him in Frankfurt am Main, he said to me, nobody can have another person's experience. You cannot experience my experience. I can only relate to you what is happening to me or how I feel. And then from that, you can reflect and guess. If I'm telling you the truth, then you will think right. But if I'm not telling you the truth, then you cannot know. So when it comes to married life, maybe those who married stand in the best position to tell us how they feel or what it is like. Nevertheless, since the church has given us the right and authority to talk, well, my brothers, good. And the first reading is taken from the book of Ecclesiastes, otherwise called Sirach. It says, happy is the husband of a good wife. The number of his days will be doubled. A loyal wife brings joy to her husband, and so on and so forth. And in the second reading, St. Paul is taken from the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians. He says, wives, be subject to your husbands as you are to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, just as Christ is the head of the church. And going down, he says, husband, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. In the gospel, to test Christ, the Pharisees came to him and asked, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any cause? And Christ told them how it has been in the beginning, and they raised arguments saying that Moses advised them to give certificate of dismissal. Christ prays further, telling them that Moses did that because they were difficult to teach or taught. But that is not allowed. If you are married, you are married. No separation, no divorce. And anybody who goes against that is committing adultery. Now, the Igbo people say that when a wine tapper is on the top of the tree and advises his children, he's also advising the children of others as well. What we are talking or reflecting this evening, Chief and Lolo Madoka are celebrating. But it's a time also to remind every married person around here to reflect and think about his or her own marriage. Because marriage is a very sensitive issue. It's one of the areas that every human being in every part of the world is always very active and very awake when you mention it. And in reality, the society begins with marriage, because from marriage comes family, and from family, society is born. So every married person should look at this first reading. If you're a wife, ask yourself, can I be identified with this first reading, which says, happy is a husband of a good wife? Can I identify myself as a good wife? Is my husband happy because of me? Can I boast or make a claim that I can double the days of my husband? Can I be identified as one of those good wives, or be given as an example of good wife? This is a personal question every woman, married woman, need to ask herself. In the second reading, again, women, St. Paul advised that wives should subject to their husbands as they subject to the Lord. For husbands is the head of the wife, just as Christ is the head of the church. Another question for married women: each person should ask herself, do I recognize my husband as my head? Do I look at my husband as the head of the family, as the authority? Do I really accept it in my heart of hearts? Sometimes truth is bitter, but we need to tell ourselves the truth. Again, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church. Married men here, ask yourself, do I really love my wife as Christ loved his church? Let me explain how Christ loved his church, because when we say it simply like this, it just appears so straightforward. Christ loved his church and died for his church. Christ loved his church and accepted to die because of the church. Married men, the first reading praised the women and advised them to be good so that husband's life will be prolonged. And second reading again advised women to subject to their husbands. Now, husband, you are expected to love your wives. Every husband should ask himself in his heart of hearts whether the love we are talking about he has is just for external. Are you ready to sacrifice for your wife, just as Christ sacrificed and died for the church? It's a personal question each husband and wife should ask themselves and answer it individually. Don't discuss it with anybody. And that question, when you are answering it, God is listening to you. In the gospel, they came to Christ because family problem didn't start today. The problem between husbands and wife has been there for ages. And they wanted to see if Christ could give the leeway out. Just as some people do today. Sometimes they come to us as priests and tell some stories and want to see if a priest will support an idea that we help them to achieve their whatever they want to do. It could be against the husband or against the wife. If the priest is not very careful, he can say, oh yes, it doesn't matter. But it matters. So that's why they came to Christ asking him, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? But Christ gave them the answer that they didn't expect. And they were not comfortable with the answer. So things about married life is very complex. And individuals who are married should help themselves to make it easy. According to psychology, and the problem of other mind, it's very difficult for two people, even from the same family, to think about the same thing, the same way, agreeing on a principle. How much more two people from different places coming together to build a family? Of course, there are bound to be some moment of misunderstanding and disagreement. But one central solution is love. One central solution for family problems is love. If you love your wife, if you love your husband, no matter what he or she does, you will always find an excuse for the person you love. Sometimes you may love somebody, but forces of circumstances can make it difficult for that love to prosper. That is where it is necessary to commit married life to the hand of God. Because if you remove it from God's guidance, expect anything anytime. It's a difficult road. It is true, priests do not marry. But if you bring the book of canon law, I think about 2/3 of the book is discussion about marriage and married life, laws concerning marriage and married life. So in theology. So we know everything in and out. Again, for a marriage to succeed, a man must be a man, and a woman must be a woman. If a woman wants the man to bend to her own wishes or to behave the way we want, the way she wants, that may make that man to move away from manhood and become something else. And if a man loses his manhood, his wife will no longer like him again, because what she expected will no longer be there. So a man must always strive to be a man. So also a woman should always be and remain a woman. Forget about development, technology, whatever you call it. Our forefathers were not foolish. They had principles guiding their family life. And that kept them and their family intact. So if we want to succeed in married life, we need from time to time look back, ask how were our forefathers and our foremothers doing it, and learn from their own lifestyle. Again, from my own observation, I would say that any married person who has got grandchildren should be a consultant in married life. Any married person who has got grandchildren should be a consultant in married life or in marriage. That's the way it should be. But unfortunately, that Latin word which says nemo dat quod non habet, nobody gives what he or she does not has,
Insurance.
makes it imperative that every married